In this lesson, we will study about how to search a specific record from the database through the Python code. Right? Let's take an empty file of Python and keep the name of that file is db2.py. Now it is already it will be saved .py extension, right? So now we have created a Python empty file, right? Now what we have to do first, import mysql dot connector library. This is the main module and which has contained sub module that is connector, right? So after this we will create an alias, or you can say that short name of that library, where we will use that short name in place of these long names, right? So now just create an alias SQL TOR, right? So you can keep that short name by any other name, right? So I take here SQL TOR. After this, create a connection string. Let's take a variable that is con, which means connection, right? We are creating a connection for this database file, right? So now SQL TOR dot connect. We will call connect method and we will pass some attributes inside it, right? So the first one is username, sorry, user. By default, my user of my database is root, right? So now next thing is password. My database doesn't contain any password, so I'll keep that password as blank, right? Now next thing is that host. You will pass the host name where actually your database has been installed. You will pass the address of your local machine, right? So you can write local host, or you can also pass the IP address here in place of local host name. If um, you have not installed your uh, database server with your local machine, so you can pass IP address of that machine where you have installed your database, right? Now the next thing is care set, right? Where your connection has been encrypted, right? So just pass the UTF-8, right? And the next thing is port number, right? My SQL database server has 3306 port. Now you will pass the database name here in which you want to working with, right? Now open XAMPP server and start Apache as well as MySQL server. And if the both the server will start, then click on admin button to open the MySQL server database. This is the interface of your MySQL database in which you are having a database name. We were working with this database, right? So we have created
Yes.
earlier in the previous class, and we have performed many operations on this database. So we will work with this same database, right? So now the name of the database is ABC, and here we will pass the same name ABC, right? So how many attributes we have passed here inside the connect method? One, two, three, four, five, six. These six attributes are mandatory, which we have to pass while creating the connection string for the program, right? Or for the writing, right? So now we will check our connection is successful by is connected method, and if the connection is successfully established, then it will return true, right? So we will compare with true keyword and give a short message to understanding, that is connection established. Or you can pass any other message here by your understanding, right? Now if
Yeah.
you find any error, or the connection has not successfully connected, so you will get an error. What is it? Just pass a message that is unable to connect, right? After this, we have created connection string, and now one more thing is that we have to do now close the connection with close method. This is the mandatory part which we have to do in every program, right? So we will create a connection, and as well as we will close the connection after the working with the database, right? So here you can write a remark connection string, right? This is the connection string, right? And
Yes.
now save this program. You don't need to save this program, just press Control plus S, right? This program will be saved in the earlier program, right? Now close that program and open the same program in IDE 3.7, or whatever you are having, whatever ID you are having installed in the local machine. Just open that program in that IDE, right? So I have opened my program or my Python file in IDE, that is 3.7.4. This is the version of that the latest version of Python program or Python IDE, right? Now execute this program by clicking on run module, right? You will see that if your connection is well, then you will be return connection established. If you found any error by connecting the database, right? So you will get an error, right? So now we have connected with the database. We are connected with the database. So now we will write a short code which will be for searching a specific record from the database, right? So now take a variable that is q. Q is nothing, just a variable name, or you can keep any other name of that variable, right? So here, what this variable identifies? This variable identifies This is the query, right? So we will write query here, right? Now, for searching any of record in the database, you have to write select asterisk from table name. You will pass the table name in which you want to search your record, right? So now the table name is what? Student info, right? So you will pass the table name while writing the query for searching student info. This is my file name. Now, what is query? Select asterisk from student info, right? So after this, create an object of cursor method. So will you can take any variable name that is cursor. This is only the variable name, nothing else, right? So you can take cursor cur, right? It is identifying, right? So now call the cursor method through the connection string, right? So we have created cursor object. By cursor object, we will call execute method, right? Where we will pass our query, which is select asterisk from student info, right? We will pass that same query inside this method, right? So now what will happen? The cursor object will be created by the connection string, and um, after this, after creating the object of cursor, we we are we are we are calling the execute method, which will execute our query. Here we have written here in that variable, right? We are passing the same variable in which our query has been stored, right? So we are passing q. Q is what? Just our query, right? For searching the records from the database, right? So now after this, close that object with the close method. Okay, so before closing that object, you have to take, or you have to uh, catch every record to a variable by implementing a loop just like that for I n and pass the cursor, right? After this, print I. We will get all the records from the database. Now execute this command and you will see that how many records we have inserted in the database. Let's check it. How many records are there in the table? Only one record, right? Only one record is there. So that's why it has written um, just a single record from the database. Just to add some more records in that file by writing the query. Let's make this query comment and write a new query for inserting some records, right? We are just inserting some records in the table and we will search out from that record, right? So now what what is the query for inserting insert into Table name is what? Student info. Student info. Values, and pass the values accordingly, right? So we have to pass 1002 to 1003 as ID number, and student name age. Student name is what? Paul. Age is what? 13. Mobile number and country. Mobile number can be anything, just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and country India, right? So this is the command for inserting the records, and let's write some more record. We are inserting multiple records with a single query. Just copy this values and change the ID number of that 1004 Paul. Now John, age is what? 20, and change the country name. Right. Now we have written our query. Now query is ready, and execute this program. Sorry, you don't need to write this line of code, right? So just make it comment and run this program once again. Column count does not match. Okay, so that means values. Okay, you don't need to pass or to apply brackets. Just pass the only single brackets for the records, for the complete records. This is the first record, and this is the second record. And how many records we are going to add in the table? We are adding only 2 records at that time, right? So we don't write these 2 records inside the parenthesis. So we just remove that uh, parenthesis, and now execute this program once again, and you will see that connection is established, and uh, we did not give any message to understanding that record has been inserted or not, right? So that's why it didn't return anything, right? So now check the records in the table. All the records has been inserted, right? Okay, so now make this query comment, and the same query which we have written earlier in the same program, make comment uncomment, right? So make these 2 lines uncomment, and now execute the same program once again, and you will see that all the records from the table has been displayed here, right? Because we have created the same program here, right? Is it clear to you?
Yes.
Okay, now whenever we are writing this query, that query searching or displaying all the records from the table. Now the query is that I want to search a particular record from the database on ID 1003, and I don't want these two records to display here, right? So I'll add a clause, that is, I'll apply a condition, that is where where student ID student ID stud ID is equal to what, 1002, right? So record that record only will be displayed here. See this. And now the query is that I want to search only the name of the student who belongs to Canada, right? Or India, right? So India or Canada. I want these two students who belongs to India and Canada. I don't want to see the records of that student, right? So just I want to confirm only the name from the data. Just want to display the student name who belongs to India and Canada. How will I write this query? Just student name. Just write stud name in place of asterisk. If you apply this sign, this sign, right? This sign means you want to display all the fields, like how many fields we are here? 5 fields: stud ID, stud name, age, mobile, country. Whenever we want all the fields to display from the database, so we will apply this sign. And now at that time, I just want to display the field student name to display here, right? I just want to display or search only the name of those students who belongs to India or Canada, right? So I just want to name. I just want to confirm only the name. I don't want to display student ID, age, mobile, and all the records, right? For this, you will pass student name, only the column name in place of asterisk. If you apply or you write asterisk in place of this column, so all the fields will be displayed here. Now, by this query, you are writing the column name, right? So you want to display the student name. Select student name from student info where student ID, right? You don't need to pass the ID name. You just pass the country name, right? Country is what? India and Canada, right? So India and or sign. This is the logical operator we have already discussed in the previous lectures, right? Is it clear? This operator is clear. What is this operator? This is logical operator in which if we are passing the multiple um, conditions, either one of conditions um, should be matched, that will return true, right? So this country equal to Canada. If any one condition becomes true or becomes correct, so it will return true, right? So by applying this condition, if any condition, country India or country Canada, so that record will be displayed on that condition, right? Is it clear? Now check, execute this program and see this, Paul and Rock. Both the students belongs to India and Canada. Okay. And you can also check, apply the condition. You want to display the records whose age is greater than 15, right? How will you pass the condition? How will you apply the condition? Just remove that condition and pass the column name in which you want to apply some condition. Age is greater than 40, 15. So that means whose age is 15, the record will not be displayed, right? So greater than 15, these two records, 30 or 20, will be displayed. Okay, now execute this program and you will see that Paul and John, Paul and John ages is greater than 15, right? Or you can pass the whose age is less than 20. So after this, you will see that record has been returned, right? See this, rock. Is it clear? Is it clear?
Yes, it's clear. Yes, it's clear.
Okay, this is the query for searching a record, searching up a specific record from the database, right? Searching records from the database, right? Now just delete that command. This command was for inserting records in the database, right? After this, now take an input from the user as ID and search a particular record on that, right? So now just take a variable ID underscore ID. This is the variable name, right? And int input, please enter student ID to be searched, right? User will enter the ID and the record will be displayed on that ID, right? So after this, make some minor changes in this query. Select student name or you can pass multiple fields here, right? Suppose you want student name and country and mobile number, right? So just pass the mobile, country. These are the field name, right? If you want multiple fields to be displayed, just pass the field name separated by comma, right? Or if you want to complete or the complete record, complete fields, just pass the asterisk sign in case of these field names, right? From a student info where stud id, stud id, check the field name stud id is equal content placeholder and just use the format method and pass the variable name in which you are passing the id, right? And after this, execute this
So now,
command and you will be asked to enter the id number 1003.
yes,
Okay, so COU, oh sorry, country COUNTRY. We have written incorrect field name. That's why it has written some error, right? So now just execute the same program once again and pass enter the ID number 1003, and on that ID the record has been written here. Okay, so in this way you can take some input from the user and you can you can um, search records any of records from the database, right? Is it clear to you?
yes,
Okay, so now we have created uh, the chapter that is connection with the database, Python connectivity with the database, right? So in the next session we will discuss a new topic, right? So till that, goodbye.
okay, bye.
Bye.